calling select board meeting to order for December 26th, 26th at 6 p.m. Entertain a motion to approve December 12th regular select board meeting, minutes, there we go.
Smooth.
Second.
Any discussion over those? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vote. Okay, 5-0. And no additions or deletions, correct? We didn't come up with any. Okay, what's this?
Connie, these are the warrants, 1114.
Oh, did I not change it?
Yeah, is that the one I'm looking for today?
It is today's, I just forgot to change it.
Okay, we don't have any members of the public. Correspondence? Any correspondence? Okay, warrants, go ahead, Kate.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the warrants. Number 1, payroll in the amount of $15,149.31. Number 2, payroll taxes in the amount of $4,087.48. Number 3, general fund in the amount of $6,194.58. Number 4, highway in the amount of $7,610.91. Number 5, highway equipment in the amount of $3,184.48 for a total of $36,226.76.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion about the warrants? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 5-0. All right.
Should we, Andy Snelling just got on Zoom. If he's speaking about the budget, we could just have him participate in discussion when the budget comes along.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. All right, treasurer's report. Now, M&T Bank says there's $872,748.82, and the usual $30,000 in the checking account. The true book fund balance is $281,772.29. The town clerk brought in a total of $882.50 of counter money. I don't have much of anything tonight. We'll move right on to the road change request. This is in reference to Taft Hill Trace off of Gale Road. We have dealt with this before, but I think at this point we just need to bring it to a vote, yes or no. Rob has a very good approach to it in that if we are renaming roads, just because somebody buys the property and wants their name on it, it's a bad precedent to set. This road, if you look on the town map, is not much more than a driveway off of Gale Road. So I guess to put this to rest, I'd entertain a motion to, well, wait a minute. Do we say Taft Hill Trace or Gale Road?
Looks like it could be.
I would make a motion to allow Matthew Brody to change, instead of having a Taft Hill Trace, give him a regular address that's off of Gale Road. So whatever the number would be between each of the driveways, that would be his new number, and have it be Gale Road.
Okay.
And that would eliminate the Taft Hill Trace, which wouldn't bother anybody else's address. It would give him his own specific number for the road, and that should suffice his situation and ours. And then if somebody had, from 911 or whatever, had a map that said Taft Hill Trace, they would still be able to find Taft Hill Trace, and then as well, if it had a number for Gale Road, which his mail and his packages could go to, they would find that with their regular, street number, road number.
So the motion would be to add his address to
Gale.
Gale Road.
I have the motion as motion to allow Matthew Brody to change address off of Gale Road, assign him a number on Gale Road.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Next up. New business. West River Sno-Goers is requesting permission to travel on the edges of roads and crossroads that we maintain. This is nothing new, it comes in pretty much every year. There's a list of roads: Sawdust Alley, Overhill Road, Beacon Mountain Road, Riverdale Road, Taft Road, Jordan Hill Road, Deer Valley Road, Depot Road, Acton Hill, and Simpson Brook, East Hill, Ellenware Road, and Grafton Road pull-off. Has anybody had any problems or heard of any problems with these folks doing this? All right, entertain a motion to allow the West River Sno-Goers to utilize those parts of the roads.
So moved.
When and if we get the snow. Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'd also add that they're asking for, we also request permission to use the following roads that are not plowed in the winter,
Okay,
just as a note to the,
okay. Any problem with that revision? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Next up. Let's see, and attached and in your packet, there is, the first page of the document is this. You know, we've been here all day. And what this is just a brief rundown of where we're at with funds from last year to the new proposed budgets. And the difference, percentage of increase or decrease is there. If you have questions about it, the actual budget sheets are attached, the worksheets are attached, so you can see where we were working or how we were working towards. Again, this is just a general reference tool. And what I intended to do was bring this for you today for the whole board to vote on. But we won't vote on it until next meeting, the first meeting in January. Just so you have a chance to absorb this. If we get anybody that wants to ask for a reconsideration of something, any particular things that you feel need to be drawn out of this. So this meeting is honestly just, here's the document that we've been working towards since the end of October. And it's ready for your comment and input. Okay. Now, something that had come up, we had, as part of the budget discussions, we had put the planning commission $26,000 for the town plan, so that it would be discussed here. And We were hoping that there was going to be a grant that was going to cover it. We did not get the grant this time. So there's a couple of other choices. We put an article on the town warning for this to be voted on by the entire town at town meeting, or the board approve it just like it approves anything else. Those are the two choices at this point, knowing that we would have to come up with that $26,000.
Just to make sure that Haley and Rob are brought up to speed, so in your packet is the traditional planning commission's budget, which normally is like $3,500. They came in, or not $3,500, maybe $2,500, or it's a very small budget. But this year they came in with that same regular budget, plus they wanted to put $26,000 into the budget to fund the putting together of the new town plan. So Andy and John are here tonight to be able to ask any, answer any questions or have a discussion about that. And what Sherwood is saying is I think the select board has to decide, are they gonna, just reject the 26, put the 26 in the budget, or have the 26 be a special article that goes to town meeting?
Yeah. Any questions with that? We'll get Andy in here and.
He's on Zoom right now.
Yeah.
Would you like him to?
Yeah, there he is.
this?
Hey, Andy.
Hello. I am having a little bit of difficulty hearing you, but I will do my best.
Okay. Well, we're basically we didn't get the grant, so now what do we do? I think some of the information that you gave the budget committee a few days ago would be important to reiterate. And our position will be the select board either decides to put it in, or the next step would be it'll have to go to a special article.
Okay. Well, I'm going to assume that many are not familiar with what a town plan is and how it comes about. So I'll start off by saying it is a document that is prepared every 8 years. I think Rob is the only one that was on the select board last time it was approved and passed. It is a process by where the planning commission gathers input from around town in any way possible, and drafts the document according to a outline that meets certain state requirements. There are 12 items that have to be touched upon within the document. We've been doing one. I found the oldest one I could find was 1992. There may be older ones than that, but so continuously we have had a town plan in force going back that long. So after the Planning Commission has drafted it and refined it, it is submitted to the Select Board for a public hearing. I should mention the Planning Commission also has to have a public hearing on it as well to get input. Then it goes to the Select Board for a public hearing. And after that, then the Select Board would adopt it or send it back to the Planning Commission for revisions. It is not a required item by state statute, but by a practical point of view, it actually is. There are a number of things that state grants that you are not allowed to apply for unless you have a town plan in effect. There are a number of other ones where you get priority if you have a town plan. So it is important in that respect as far as the way that the state currently distributes money is really through grants. So it is one of the requirements in many grants and a preference in others. Things like designated village centers, you can't do without a town plan. There are some other issues as far as like doing a floodplain bylaw, because you can't do land use bylaws without having a town plan. Most people, or most jurisdictions, that means that they don't can't have zoning without a town plan, but you also have other land use issues where you're required to have a town plan. And in our case, floodplain would be one of them, which is important because that's what makes us eligible for FEMA and flood insurance in small areas. We don't have a lot of residences that fall in the flood zones, but we do have some. It also provides a view of so that the town can look forward and see things that we want to work on, visionary type document as to where we'd like to be in 8 or 10 years. Another aspect of it is that as a non-zoning town, any property construction greater than an acre is going to go to Act 250. Town plan provides the folks doing the Act 250 hearings the input from the town as to how the town sees the nature of the town and how it would react to any development. And that would be both Act 250 and Act 248, which is in case there is any electrical or utility construction or transmission that goes on. And it's a little bit more even in the case of that if we have a so-called compliant energy plan as part of the town plan or as a separate bylaw. So there's a number of reasons why it's very important to have it. And yes, it's expensive. It's every 8 years. So it is not and that's why it ends up being a very lumpy amount coming due now. We did not get the grant that we had applied for. I have been in touch with Wyndham Regional, trying to see if there are ways that we can tighten up the budget on it to hopefully get it done for a lesser dollar amount. And they have agreed that they will come back with a couple of alternative proposals. They were not able to get those done in time for tonight. And the other aspect I wanted to touch on briefly was the timing, in that the budget cycle that we're planning for at the moment starts July 1st, 2024 and runs through June 30th, 2025. And the cycle of when we have to get the town plan up and approved is September 2025. So this is our last budget cycle where we could effectively get it done, because the sign off, the hearings and all of that can easily take a couple of months. So it would have to all really be completed within this current budget cycle that we are currently putting together to go to town meeting. So I think it's really a necessity that we continue with it, and would recommend that it go as part of the current budget that is going to be presented at town meeting.
John, do you have anything to add with this?
No, the only thing I'm gonna add is that we're gonna hope that Wyndham Regional can get the price down that they're gonna work for.
Okay.
I thought it was a little pricey when the guy brought it up a couple of months ago.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Andy or John?
Yes, I have 3 questions. The first one I'll start with is why didn't we get the grant?
It's a competitive grant, and our representative at Wyndham Regional has inquired if what we could do to quote better next year. It's not uncommon that some of them get voted down. I mean, Jamaica didn't get it last year, they got it this year. So they say it's a competitive grant, and how they look at it, they have, I think, 500,000 or 600,000 to distribute across the state this year.
My second question would be, by going in with this right here, what grants are you guys looking at getting into?
What grants are we looking to?
Yeah, you said that if we don't apply for this and go for it, what, you said that there's grants that you can't apply for. Are there grants that you're looking at that if we get into this that you're looking aggressively to apply for?
I don't have any specific grants. Any municipal planning grant would come under this. Some of the highway ones would be preference, where you might get a preference for it if you had a town plan. I don't think those are required that you have it. I think those are in the preference category.
And my other question about it is I paid attention in my 20 years in the town, being a landowner, that we've gone through almost four, or we're heading into our fourth, and a lot of the stuff that in 2000 they put in the planning, in the town plan, have never been executed. So it's like we keep going, you know, we set a goal out there and we never meet the goal, and then we just move the goalpost over a little further, and then we never meet that goal, and then we move the goalpost a little further, we never meet that goal, and now we're gonna move the goalpost to a different spot. Are we ever gonna hit some of these things? Or are we just gonna drop, hold on, I'm not done.
Some of those things executed.
I'm not done. So what I'm getting to is we've got these different things on the table and they never happen. So it's like we can come up with 100 different plans, and if they never get executed, it's not doing us any good. So in part of my mind, I'm thinking $26,000 might just never, there's not really a rhyme or reason of why we would pay that, when we could just come up with a plan without the 26,000, not meet the plan, and save the 26,000.
But I'd have two things to say to that, Rob. One is that, as I went through before, there is an advantage to having the plan. The action items or call for actions that are listed in the plan is part of it. And those are to spur you on to accomplish some additional things. But that is a part of the plan. The things I mentioned as far as eligibility for grants, the document that Act 250 looks to, or Act 248, those are there without regard to getting any of the additional tasks addressed. And, you know, as far as getting the things addressed, that's a collaborative effort. And as I said, really would look forward to working closely with the select board to try to accomplish some of those things.
I have a question. Does it only become an official town plan if it goes through Wyndham Regional in order to create it? Or is there a way to take what we have from 8 years ago and say, a lot of this has not been acted upon, and make some revisions and then republish that as our current town plan as a working document without spending $26,000 instead of what you're spending more like printing money and some maps and stuff? I'm just asking.
JD, I like that idea, since we've already gone through the trouble of making a town plan. Maybe we can update it. Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Right, yeah. I didn't know if there was something that, working with Wyndham Regional, if that made it the official document or something like that, or is it something that we can
My whole point,
ourselves?
Because some select board makes it official.
part of my point, Andy, is if you go back to the 2000 Planning Commission report, you put, not you personally, but they put together a report, and there was a whole article about Taft Meadows, and I believe the town spent quite a bit of money in designing, you know, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there was, right now at the top of my mind, I can't remember exactly like all the different things, but there was a whole game plan for Taft Meadows. And the town paid a lot of money to have this drawn up, and whether it was engineered or whether somebody put some really, you know, put a lot of time and did a really good job of engineering it, none of it ever happened. So what my point is that we spent money in 2000 on something like that, and nothing happened with it, and then it changed in 2008, and what it changed to never happened. And in 2016 it changed again, and now we're gonna change it again, but we're gonna pay 26,000, and there's no guarantee that anything's gonna happen. And that's where I am a little hesitant to spend the 26,000, or would be hesitant as a town. And without having button topic in a reason, like a grant that you're aggressively pursuing that you need this for, that's where I, you know, am wading in the weeds on. Does that make sense to you?
I understand your position. I think you are looking at it from a narrow perspective, that there are many
I
things.
usually do.
Let me just, because I think there are lots of other benefits that come necessarily beyond every single item. It is a visionary document. So you're trying to get the collective view of where do we want the town to go? What things do we want to happen? Some of them will, happen, some will not. One of the ones that we're looking at here is we drafted a fairly comprehensive energy plan, which was not incorporated into our town plan. So one is to incorporate that in there. The state has a couple of new requirements. I think it goes by I may have my state act wrong. I think it's Act 71, which was the original one for wildlife corridors and forest blocks, which we will need to update because that is one of the requirements. That's part of the statewide planning view of what you need to do from the state's perspective. Some of the things, like you mentioned, Taft Meadow, and yes, we did a whole thing of building a town garage and fire station there that never happened, or hasn't happened. We did end up going with a town garage, not at that location. The fire station is yet to be accomplished. That doesn't mean that that's not something that I think that a large number of people in town aspire to have and think that we need to do, but it's a matter of figuring out how to put it all together. We've looked at various other things long-term that we may make small incremental progress town. That's part of having the vision, but may not come together in totality. Still, you would benefit greatly from having the plan, even if all the little items are not fully accomplished. That's not the mainstay of the plan. It's to have the vision and to try to identify those things and then get people striving to do it. And then, as I mentioned, the side benefits, eligibility for grants and review of Act 250 and Act 248.
Well, if I make up a plan, I usually try to achieve whatever the plan is.
Well, there are many things on here that are select board items too. So, as I said, we have to work together to try to accomplish that. It's not any single group in town that has to accomplish those things. It is a collective effort.
I don't disagree on the collective effort. I just, in question of the 26,000 to come to the part of the collective effort.
I agree with Rob on that. Andrew, I appreciate you bringing this before the board. I have to agree with Rob, though. I'd really like to see a quantifiable, if there's any way to kind of monetize the items that would be in this report, I'd be more likely to lean towards spending that amount of money, which would make me kind of think that the town does need to vote on this as a whole, as Sherwood was suggesting as well.
Well, if you put it to the whole board, what you're saying is that the select board doesn't feel that they have the either the vision or whatever to approve it as part of the normal budget process. You're saying it's an extraordinary item.
Well, in fact, what I'm saying is that I think that this is an item that the town should vote on, as opposed to just the five of us.
That would be new. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but that would not be the way it's been done in the past, but is a possibility.
Well, I don't think that we've spent anywhere close to 26,000. I'm sure in 2000, when that plan was made, there was a pretty good amount of money spent because there was actually drawings made up of what was going to happen in Taft Meadows in certain spots. Right, John?
Yes.
And it wasn't just a firehouse. There was a firehouse, town hall, there was a recreational area, and there was some other stuff that was involved with that. So, I'm sure there was a substantial amount of money spent in those plans being drawn up. And I'm not sure exactly what the numbers were. I'm sure we could find them, but
Those were actually not part of the town plan cost. The cost of redoing the town plan, last time we did it was somewhere just shy of 20. And we did get a grant for a large part of that at that time.
Could you speak to the role Wyndham Regional plays in order to charge us that much money? Is it a consulting fee? Are they interpreting, the regulations and things for you so that you have a better understanding of what needs to be put in it?
There are a number of things from a state point of view that have to be met. There's a number of items that fall into GIS mapping that we're not capable of doing. And then there's drafting of about a 100-page document where it is an area where there is somewhat unique language and practice that they are very familiar with, which the Planning Commission is not. So it is, the funds that we're talking about would be to Wyndham Regional. And it's part of the way that, Wyndham Regional exists, is they provide services, some for our annual membership fee, and then they provide other services where they charge a fee. This happens to be moving into the area where they would charge us a fee to help us prepare this document. Not dissimilar for the current hazardous mitigation plan that's being done.
the hazard mitigation plan that was done also was 40% higher than the next, or the lowest bid. So I want to throw that out there as a matter of information.
Okay.
Which the lowest bid came from North Carolina, and Wyndham Regional is 20 minutes away from us. So I'm not sure why it would be 40% on hazard mitigation, and it makes me wonder if they sharpen their pencil, if the 26,000 would be lower.
I think it will, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I have reached out to them and said, hey, they know we didn't get the grant. What can we do? Give us a couple of scenarios of how we can look at reducing the cost, but I don't have that information, so I can't give you that. Obviously, if we can end up getting it done for less, we'll do it for less, but I do think it's pretty important that we do proceed with the town plan.
Anything else? Go ahead, John.
So why don't we see if Wyndham Regional can cut the price a little bit, or quite a bit, and still help us out in the things that we can't do.
Now, that was what I was going to suggest, that we shelve this until next meeting. We need the budget buttoned up next meeting. Put this on and see where they're at. That'll be 2 weeks. I don't know what they can do in 2 weeks. Let's see what they can do. Worst comes to worst, we'll just have to put it on our article for the whole town to consider. But we'll give it one more shot. Is anybody opposed to that?
No, do you need a motion?
Yeah, sure.
I'd make a motion to table this till the next meeting and see what the planning commission can come up with Wyndham Regional.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to just add, this is an exciting proposition, I think, for the town. Items like this is the kind of thing we need in order to move forward, especially with a plan that has been vetted by a knowledgeable and involved agency such as Wyndham, the Wyndham Advisory Council. It's in order for personally my vote to support this, I would need to see what this money is going to specifically mean for Townshend. If, for example, in 8 years, if we follow everything in this town, will the town be bringing in 20% more tax revenue? Will it be bringing in 50% more, people to the town? I think that would get people more interested, and it kind of would just make more sense for such a large amount of money. But I do think that this is the right direction we need to be going in, for the record.
Okay. So we got the motion and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Alright,
Opposed? 5-0. All right, Andy, why don't you see what you can come up with? And we'll go from there. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, obviously the motion to table it passed, so 2 weeks
Yeah.
we'll see what we've been able to revise with Wyndham Regional.
We'll put it on the calendar for 2 weeks and see where we're at. All right? Okay, the last thing we have to do as far as budget goes is the insurance company for employees. The rate went up 14%. And that's from January 1st through the end of our fiscal year. That's an unfunded amount of money. We really got zapped from what it was last year. So the question would be to find the funds to continue that, to continue to pay for them, and then it will get us to July, and then it'll be the same amount of money in July. But we've also got to think about come next January, what are they going to hit us with, and figure out a way to try and anticipate those costs.
One thing, going off of what Sherwood is saying, that the way that this 14% rise, which goes into effect in January, affects some of our employees that use our plan, but not all of them. It just depends on how many people are on your plan. But the people that it does affect are gonna see a couple $100s taken out of their paychecks every month, which is significant. So we were trying to figure out how to deal with that in our current healthcare situation, and trying to figure out what to do between now and July, when our budget actually starts.
What does that total amount come to, that 14% increase for those, was that 6 months?
We had it somewhere.
We had it somewhere.
I don't know if we have the 6-month cost, but we have a year cost. It would be. No, you wouldn't. So, yeah, this is what, the 23 rates are, this is the new rate. The issue we have is that it goes up by 14%, and because we are now fully staffed in the road crew, we have 2 people on the road crew and 1 town clerk who are all on the +1. So it takes our yearly healthcare costs from 29 to 70.
We don't know what the difference is.
I
Well,
think we
we figured
tried
that
it's
out.
to.
from 29 to 73, it's a difference,
But that's a full year. Okay.
so you cut it in half.
I think we were looking at.
Somewhere around 20,
Something.
23,000, 24,000.
Now, we either eat that cost, not pass it to the employees because of this, because of the lateness of the notice, or we try and find a different plan for the 1st of July. But it's not that easy. They've all got pluses and they've all got big minuses too.
It's like 21,800, so
That's hefty.
22,000
Yeah.
for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's again, because it's 14%, but there's also, we now have more people on the +1.
Yeah.
And how it works out for the employee is our current, until fiscal year 2025 starts in July, we're going off of what we did last year, which was to cover up to $16,000, which at the time was 100% of their health care. And now that number jumped to 18,000 and change for what it's gonna cost. So they're looking at coming up with, out of their own paycheck, $2,400, I think, for over that 6 months, basically. So that's kind of hard.
So the recommendation of the budget committee is from January to July 1st, cover 100% of the increased cost
Out of somewhere.
out of somewhere. And then effective July 1st, we have to decide what we're gonna do.
And also, we had a second offshoot of that where we thought we would try to form a committee to find better, more affordable healthcare options for the employees, before our next budget, before fiscal year, we write the budget for 2026. We thought if we could put together a group of people that know a little bit about shopping around for healthcare, then maybe we could give our employees an option that wasn't going up like 14%.
How common is that, I wonder, where it just gets hiked down like that?
Well, the last couple of years, you hardly could tell, but you also had no real risk because the people were home and
Not using
working
it.
at a home and not using it, so they kind of plateaued. And then up it went. So it just depends on how the economy goes as to how much it goes up the next time.
Yeah.
Our planning needs to be, how do we come up with a cost that's effective when that rollover occurs in January? So, I mean, we were really kind of caught flat-footed with this because do you remember what the previous year that went up? It wasn't a big deal, it wasn't a bunch
I'm
of
not even
money.
sure we're not much. Let me see. It's here. It was 11% increase for the single coverage and 8% for 2 persons. So it was a different increase.
And this year it's just 14 across the
That's what
board.
they told me when I called them.
So, that's where we're at. Anybody that has any, ideas, certainly let us know. But we're gonna be closing this budget out. Hopefully, that we'll get it signed off on the next meeting, and then we'll be closing it up for town meeting from there. Sound like a plan? All right.
Sure, there's one other thing that I want just
Okay, go ahead.
to have folks aware of. So you have the proposed budgets and you have a summary sheet to mull over. And any questions you have, if you can get them to me sooner rather than later, because at the next select board meeting, we have to finalize this because we have to get the budget into the town report. So we have to move on it. One thing I wanted to point out was just the significant increase to the highway budget. Generally speaking, that's a result of materials costs going up very high. There is more repair and maintenance to the equipment than has been budgeted for in previous ones. So we're really factoring in repair to equipment and maintaining equipment. And then there was a fairly significant wage increase that occurred in fiscal year '24 that's going to be really realized and felt in '25 in terms of the budget. So that's the highway budget. It would have been higher than a 29% increase, but the other thing that I want to address is there was a decision made to centralize some of our common costs that run throughout departments, like the oil bill, the propane bill, the general insurance bill that covers all departments, the computer contract, and then some of the NEMRIC, the payroll program. So all of that was moved out of individual departments and housed in the Municipal Public Works Department, which you can see has increased significantly by over 200%. And that is because all those common line items have come into that department. And as a result, that has helped other budgets come down. So there's some shifting going on.
You would have seen that money in the individual departments, but it's something that the department heads have no control over. They don't know what the phone bill is. They don't know what the insurance costs are gonna be. So rather than doing what's been done for years, we decided to kind of get some of those line items reduced and focus explicitly on the cost that it takes to run that group, how it's gonna cost to run finance, the listers, the town clerk, without these things that they have no control over.
So that's just, as you run through this, that's where we're seeing some decreases in departments. It's because we're taking out some of those and putting them in there. The other reason, just off the top of our head, why we're looking at a 10% increase from last year's general fund to this year's proposed budget. Again, our VLCT insurance policy has gone up maybe $2,500 to $2,800. Not real significant, but it has gone up this year. We are factoring in, I think, a 3.2% wage increase into these departments. Fiscal year 25 is when we will have a better understanding of our contract with Europa, which is our computer consultants. That went up, pretty significantly, effective like January or April of 2024, but this is the first year that we're really realizing that. And then, there have been some other increases like in the oil, not significant, but some increases in oil, the oil contract. So that would explain the 10%.
You've been working on the propane and oil for a while to consolidate that.
But I really
Well, they're finally all under one.
I know.
But I really do request that people look at this and get questions to me so that we have time to work on it before the next meeting.
All right. All right, if there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Smooth.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That all. Thank you.
Hi, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night. Take care.